Me personally, I love traveling, so it was, I think, part of the allure of the, I guess, career as a caster in some ways. At least as I got more and more into it and started realizing there was events around the world, it was like, this is awesome. I get to travel to great locations in Southeast Asia, like Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore. I go to Eastern Europe. I've been to Ukraine, Russia, Sweden. I think over the years, what I realized is as much as I love traveling, it also can wear you down a bit. You travel to a new place like every few weeks if you're really grinding through the calendar year as a caster. So that's where you have to make sure to take time off, I think. You can't just try and cast every event. That was my philosophy for the first year or two. Like, let's try and do everything I get invited to. Let's just say yes and go and do it and have fun and cast some great Dota. But now I've realized, you've got to maybe, at least at the stage of my life I'm in, where I want to try and, focus on growing BTS, also have a personal life, do things outside of Dota. That's where it's like I actually have to start turning down some events and making sure I try not to travel as much. Yeah, this event's been really cool, fun use of my time. I say that like I'm trying to divide my time. No, I came here just because I got invited by the organizers a few months ago. They were like, hey, would you be possibly interested in this? And I was like, this sounds awesome. Like, I'd love to get back to Australia. I'd love to see some Aussie Dota. A lot of the guys playing in this tournament, people I used to play with, play against, play pubs with. Like, I was like, this sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like something that can really help grow the Aussie scene as well. And the event itself has been really impressive. It's a small little theater. It maybe only seats like a couple hundred people, but it sold out a few weeks ago. They're looking to get a bigger venue next time. Like, everything about this event has been really cool from a, I think, viewer perspective for the people who came out. Yeah, I think the next big thing is obviously maybe bringing in some big international teams so you can actually have a big event. I'd love to see organizations, like an ESL or someone try and run a Valve minor or something in Australia. But at the same time, you also want to, for me, I'd love to see a way to grow the Aussie scene, like the actual teams here, not just bring in international teams and place it in Australia, actually have a qualifier for Australia, get an Aussie team in the event. Even if they are going to get wiped out, it's still a growing experience for the scene, for the teams here. And I think outside of an international event, even just running a bigger version of what we've already got going here that AEF put on, hopefully Season 5 can have a bigger venue, maybe more teams, and just have like several days of LAN event. Those kind of just growing steps would be great for the Aussie scene. I don't think it has to be one or the other as far as whether you use outside more established international talent or local grown talent. I think having a mix of both is great. I think that's partly where maybe that's kind of what they've done this season, where they bring me in, but then they also use some of the local talent who they've had casting the season, basically casting the entire season as well. So they get this nice mix of the local Aussie casters who've been kind of going at it for a while. They get a couple of the pro players to co-cast with them. Then they bring in like myself, who's a bit more known on the international level, which then also maybe bring some extra eyeballs to this event. A lot of people who follow me are like in Asia, Europe, America, wherever, and they're gonna be like, oh, GoDz at this LAN, it's Aussie Dota. Like, they're probably not very good, but I might just tune in anyways because I want to hear GoDz cast, or because he let me know about that this is going on. And then as a result, it's just more attention, more awareness for what's going on in the Australian Dota scene. I wouldn't mind if it got me in Australia more often. I think for the immediate future, like the next year or two, maybe not so much, because I've kind of settled down in LA for now, which is where traveling to Australia is something I'd love to come back like at least once a year or something, but and see family here and all that, but it's not something I could do regularly without kind of disrupting my life back there in some ways. So within reason, yeah, but I think more than anything it's going to be about just sticking around in LA, turning down a few events like in the DPC, and then focusing more on my friends, my life there, different hobbies that I want to do outside of Dota, playing tennis, whatever else comes my way. The DPC's, I think, overall been good. It's not perfect. It's far from perfect, probably, with changes needed for like roster locks and stuff. Like we're seeing now, the roster locks don't seem to mean a whole lot. Teams who aren't in the top 8 are just like, well, we'll change our roster. We'll play open. Whether you play opens or regionals doesn't seem to matter to most teams. I think the way the points are distributed may get changed as well. Like if you're at a major and you're getting 5th place, it seems really rough if you just get 5th because you had to verse like VP or someone, and then you don't get any points for it. And that's where I think the points may change so that majors give more points for like 1st through 8th or something. Minors only give maybe top 3. Like we'll see some tweaks, I think, next year. I don't think anyone really thought Valve was going to have the perfect system on year one. It's more about the imperfections people are going to bring up, maybe complain about, but ultimately that's good for the scene and good for Valve to know what people want to get changed and what can be done. So from the caster side or tournament organizer side, I think it's good you know what your event means. Every event has some amount of points and contributes towards TI, so that's kind of neat, whereas in the past it just felt like your event might matter, it might not, who really knows, so now it's much more defined.